Hey everyone, and welcome back to House of Mystery. Today I want to take a look at the highest selling murder mystery book of all time. And if you like mysteries, I'm sure you know about Agatha Christie. So, just a little bit of a background: Agatha Christie is the most sold author of all time outside of Shakespeare and the Bible. She's sold over 2 billion copies worldwide. She's been translated into hundreds of languages. And this book, And Then There Were None, is her most sold book with over 100 million copies sold. This book was published in 1939 and actually went through several titles before it landed on And Then There Were None. This does not have one of her famous characters, Hercule Poirot or Miss Marple, in it. It is a standalone story that you do not have to read in any type of order. So if you haven't read it, don't feel like you need to have read anything before it. It is absolutely 100% a total solo book. What I found interesting about this book is that when Agatha Christie was interviewed about it, she said she wanted to write it because she knew just how difficult it would be. And it really is just, if you want a quintessential Agatha Christie book with the details and the making sure you pay attention to every single little thing that's happening, this is one of those stories. And she follows this poem that is hanging in all of the guest room when they get to this mansion. And she follows that poem for how each person is killed. And so that's how she knew it was going to be difficult to write. But she wanted to challenge herself to do it. So if you don't know the premise of this book, there are 10 strangers who get these letters to come to this island. Now, this island is all the buzz. It's off the coast of Devon. People think that a celebrity has bought it. They're really just curious about what's going on there. So that is enticing them as well. And they each get a different type of letter from an old friend or an old army buddy or for some sort of employment. So they each have a different reason for going there, unknown to all of them that they are being lured in so that they can each be killed off one by one. With the whole theme being that these 10 people have somehow done something that has allowed them to escape justice. They have murdered someone directly or indirectly somehow, and they have gotten away with it. And somebody doesn't like that. And so once they get to the island, Agatha Christie does so many good things to make sure that this works on such a high level. First of all, the setting itself. It's so perfect because to me it has two things that work really well for a murder mystery. First of all, you have this smaller island. And the fact that it's small is really important because Agatha Christie wants to be certain that the reader understands there is nobody on this island other than the 10 people we know about. Nobody's going to come out at the end and say, "Boo, it's me." No one's waiting in the wings. It has to be one of those 10 people because the island is only so small. They search it. There's absolutely nowhere anybody could hide. So she does a great job of making it this isolated place where nobody can kind of come in or leave. And we have to be sure that it has to be one of these 10 who is our killer. And then you also have this, old manor house that is always good for a murder mystery setting. And so you have this big grand house on this small island where all of these things are happening. So I think the setting is just so rich. And then something that is unique as far as this book is that it's really hard to pinpoint a protagonist. We have this omniscient narrator who gets inside the thoughts of all 10 people. And it's not a spoiler when you know that all of them die, because from the beginning we are read the poem, and that is the premise. You are supposed to know that somehow they all die, but there's still a mystery in there somewhere. And so it's really important to know that we kind of know this from the beginning. But to me, anyway, I don't get particularly attached to any of the characters. I don't really like any of them. And so while normally you write to make your audience love your characters, in this one, I think it's really good that she doesn't make any of her characters likable, because I think the reader finds themselves like, I'm not really upset that you died. Like if I had been super connected to you or thought, "Oh gosh, I hope that you're not the killer," or "I hope that you don't die next." But we really don't get a sense of anybody being super noble or good. And so as they get picked off, I'm not terribly disappointed, as bad as that may sound, because we don't have like a good protagonist to root for. But that doesn't mean that the story doesn't work. It actually works perfectly for this book. I also love how Agatha Christie seems to be inside my brain as I'm reading. So every time someone dies, I think, okay, I know who did it. And they are always the very next person to get killed off. And so it's like she knew, and she specifically set it up this way. She uses so many good literary devices. You have so much foreshadowing. I read it, and then when I got to the end, I was like, man, I did not see that coming. And then I read it again later on, and knowing the ending, there was so much foreshadowing that I overlooked, not knowing what the ending was. And now I'm like, gosh, how did I not see that? But Agatha Christie is so good at that. She makes foreshadowing in plain sight, but yet we don't see it coming. She uses illusions and red herrings. Like, she's just the master of storytelling, but also of just those literary dynamics and metaphors and all those things we learn about in literature that get woven into the book so effortlessly that we don't even sometimes notice that they're there. So if you haven't read this book, by all means, pick it up. It's a great one for around Halloween time. There's also a movie, and I'm going to do, of course, a video on that, but there are several renditions of that. I know there's a TV version, and this was very much kind of a jumping off point for many mysteries to come. So you've probably, if you've never read this, at least read or heard something similar, because a lot of things I feel like base off this book because it is so good. Let me know in the comments below if you have read it, what you think of it. Is it your favorite Agatha Christie? Where would you rank it? As always, if you've made it to this point, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, comment. It helps more than you know. I always appreciate the viewership. Again, if you haven't read the book, I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again, and stay mysterious.